All right, welcome back, everybody, to another week of Ghost in the Scene, certified audio sage podcast. We're very ghost friendly here. I am your host, Gio Chumpatazzi, and I am back with my co-host, Rob Thomas. Rob, how are you?
Gio, it is so good to be back, and every week I just feel so grateful to be back on air. To tell you the truth, Gio, I feel like I'm in a little bit of hot water this week already. We came back on air last week, and already I think people might be finding some of our text transcripts, people in high up places, because I am on the down low from the certain British government, the UK, United Kingdom. Gio, we were talking about the Queen over the break, and I don't think they want this information to get out. So I've been on the download, trying to hang out in like dentist's office, trying to go to like spice stores, but then I get scared because it's like, what if they send the Spice Girls? So I ultimately, big shout out to the IRA for helping me out for this last week.
Getting you out of there. That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Spice Girls, people don't know, they have a license to kill. They carry an international license to kill. And in fact, I think one of the spices, they changed their name from like Baby Spice to, I think, Anthrax Spice. I think legally they changed that after the 2000s. So
that's spicy.
It's very spicy. It's very spicy. I'm glad you're keeping yourself safe. Living on the lam is hard because you never can feel comfortable. There's always somebody over your shoulder you got to look out for. And when we do the paranormal, it's tenfold. It's 100-fold because now you're looking interdimensionally over your shoulder because they're sending demons, they're sending shadows. And so, MI6, it's interesting that they call it 6, right? There's some kind of paranormal connection there, I think.
I mean, yeah. And then obviously our numerology listeners, you can dig into that, and I think you'll see some surprising things there as well. I mean, but maybe not, because we're all seasoned paranormal experts at this point, and that includes you too, listener. We are including you on this because you've been listening to this show for so long that I would say, if you've been listening to this show for this long, you are also a paranormal expert at this point.
100%.
We're definitely, it's still in the works, but we're working on being an accredited institution here at Ghost in the Scene.
Yeah, we're working on that with the University of Phoenix. We're gonna work together to maybe get an accredited program. Since you guys have all been listening, that means you are all officially entered in the program. Congratulations. If you are so inclined, you can write a dissertation, and using some of the information, you have to cite us, of course, but we are peer reviewed. So you can use any of the words we say in your mathematical, your theoretical physics papers. We've been used before, so it'll be a nice, to us, it'll be a nice call at reference, but it's happened before. We've had Neil deGrasse Tyson cite us a few times in his theological. He's actually getting into astrotheology. I don't know if you've seen his Twitter recently, but astrotheology it is a burgeoning new scientific enterprise, and we've been cited a lot for that. I think you said, and this is quotable, the universe is really big.
It's true.
You get quoted all the time.
Yeah, you can quote me on that as well. Remember, that's MLA or Chicago style on your citing, folks. Yeah, I mean, and also true. It's like, I think Neil has been wrong on a lot of stuff, so it's really heartening though to see that he's finally using some trusted sources like ourselves. There's so hopefully there can be some turning around. Hopefully he can stop harassing women as well. But Neil, that's for you to work out.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening to the show and giving us some plugs on there. So
yeah, we provide the science. You can get your own manners, Neil, and work out your own problems. We're just glad that you're leaning into the science on the astro theology, because if we are to be believed, right, and if we are to be taken seriously, we need people to use our information for good, right? I mean, the thing is, the whole Oppenheimer thing, right? I think he said, like, I have become like a destroyer of worlds.
Yes, the destroyer of worlds. Yes.
I mean, that was a person that said that. That's not like a fable, right? Like a guy literally told people, I have become death. Now, he's a scientist, just like we are scientists. And so he saw his research go into something that turned him into literal death, the crypt keeper. So we don't want that to happen to us, right? And I actively am trying to make it so that the people that are citing us are only using our information in ways that are going to benefit society. And so Neil, having the platform that he has, is going to push that forward. I think the only issue that we have is that, now we have a giant target on our back, right? I mean, people are going to be begging to use us for resources, and we're not going to know what their information and their research is going to go into. So we could be creating the next paranormal neutron bomb, as far as we know, right? And that's the kind of line that we have to walk. It's a very hard edge, but I think we're doing it perfectly.
It is. I mean, but that's what science is all about. Science isn't moral or immoral. It doesn't take sides. It's a study. It's a field. It doesn't have wants. It is a method, right? It's more about the people using it. So this is going to be a larger battle. I think for you and me, Gio. This is just kind of a heads up, and for all of you out there, when you're citing us as well, do so responsibly.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I think people want to kind of circle back to that. Wait, Rob, why is the
why
royal
are they after
family
you? Yeah.
after me? Well, we were talking to you about how the Queen this last fall went on this quote unquote official leave of sorts. Or as the official press junkets were calling it, she has transitioned to her next phase, right?
Yes. Now, that's the way that they say that, right? Transitioning to a new phase. Phase is a state, right, of matter. And in fact, you can see that they used phase very, very pointedly, because we're talking about the phasing out of a body, and now she is pure soul.
Allegedly. You see, this is where it gets sticky. Most people, when they talk about this, like, oh, well, obviously she's dead and now she's a ghost. And I'd say, like, hold your horses on this one. There's some actual things that happen when a monarch of England dies, and they might try to keep it on the down low, but there's just been too much happenstance around this, too much coordination, because in normal circumstances, once the monarch dies, the next in line would be appointed. This has not happened in this case yet. So they're trying to figure out what this transition is doing. So, we got to get ahead of it as well to figure it out. And, phase that, they could have been more direct. I feel like, again, Gio, we're looking at terminology here. Phase. I mean, and we're a paranormal show. So if not to a spirit, what else is she transitioning into? Is really what my research is digging into, and that's suddenly where I've been finding some pushback.
Right. That's what's so dangerous, is when you get too close to the truth and they're hiding the truth. Right. It's almost like you have set off a trap on yourself, and it's a truth trap. But I think it's worthy of being, put into the light, no matter what happens. So the work that you're doing is not just for you, it's for the entire universe. And the uncovering of what's going on in England with the Queen, I think, is of utmost paranormal international security. So this phase, so let's say it's not spiritual, okay? What are the other options that we have? Because I mean, what could she be phasing into? The first thing my mind goes to is a Frankenstein of some sort.
Mm.
But then again, I mean, you know, people in bloody old England, they do it a little differently. So I'm not sure. Do they have Frankensteins over there?
I mean, that's a good point. Mary Shelley, if memory serves me correctly, I think she's an American author, I believe. So
Mm-hmm.
like what's the British version? I'm sorry, Mary Shelley was an English author. All
I
right.
see.
See, you know, we don't just throw facts around here casually,
We
but you know,
checked.
maybe we checked. All right, she is an English author, but you know, Frankenstein also is from a different time period.
Right. This could be a more modern take. So the options are more than just she's dead, right? I think that's the like the most simplest take. And we here at the Ghost in the Scene team, we see things a little differently. We see things with a paranormal lens, and not everything is ghost related. I think a couple of years ago, we kind of took the veil off and started to see that actually there's much more of a cryptozoological tint and tilt to the world. So if it's not a Frankenstein, because I think, like you said, a Frankenstein is an old way of transferring maybe a consciousness or something like that, a soul. What are some new ways they could do it? Right? I mean, possibly you can contact a Mark Zuckerberg, right? I mean, maybe a metaverse. There, I think the thing about we haven't really talked about the metaverse yet. I just want to bring this up because we're going to be talking about this much more later. We'll have a full in-depth investigation into this. But what they're doing right now, what Zuckerberg has announced, is he is creating a universe within the universe, right? And it's like a pocket universe that he has created, and he's calling it the metaverse. Okay, but don't get it twisted. He's literally creating a new reality within reality. It's like a Russian nesting doll of reality. So people think, oh, it's like a place where you go to meet, your friends. What the reality might be is that you are transferring your consciousness into this, inner reality to escape death, to escape persecution, to gain power, resources. I mean, I don't know, but I think there's a reason why they're creating this reality within our reality.
That is such key insight, Gio. You know, it's looking at the long picture, and this is a royal family. This is the crown of England.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, their number one goal is just to protect their future, the reign, their reign, right? They say, "Long live the Queen." They say this
That's a spell, yeah.
every single time they see her. So they want it to go long as humanly possible. And right now we still just have the crumbs, but it's important to try to get ahead of the story. So, we don't get anything sprung on us. So we're ready when something happens. So when we're looking up more, there's the royal author, Penny Junor. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, Junor.
Okay.
Right? It's like junior, but there's no I. So already I'm suspicious of this person. But
where did the eye go?
Exactly?
There's a missing eye.
There's a missing eye. It's like this person has no self, right?
No third eye. If there's a missing eye and she doesn't have an eye patch, she's missing the third eye.
Right? But is closely embedded with the royal family. And according to this person, whoever they may be,
mm-hmm.
It says that we can expect to, quote, see more of her on video and probably less of her in the flesh. All
In the
right,
flesh.
in the flesh specifically. Something she apparently did this in October. She welcomed new ambassadors to Britain from South Korea and Switzerland via virtual audience.
Wow. I mean, I think the truth is right there on the wall. She's gone meta. She's in the metaverse.
Now the question is, I don't know the rules of the metaverse. Is she the queen of the entire metaverse?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want, I
Right?
mean, obviously we're not, in the metaverse yet. We haven't, gotten the back door unlocked for that. But I would say, given the fact that she is royalty, and given the fact that, you have to respect your elders, I don't think there's another woman that has more status or is older than the queen in the metaverse right now.
No,
I,
I mean, and this year, 2022 is supposedly they'll celebrate her platinum jubilee.
Platinum.
Platinum, right? Like the
Wow.
metal. Now, and I haven't constructed too many computers. Gio, you're more involved in computers, but you might be able to find some platinum in some computers.
100%. Absolutely. There is platinum in most computers nowadays. So I think what we're seeing here is the transition from the in the flesh version to this online version. And it's almost like, if you guys have seen the movie Her, that was obviously some type of prequel or like a look into the looking glass, where in the future, the queen gets lonely and starts a relationship with Joaquin Phoenix.
I
So,
mean, and Joaquin Phoenix could be you, dear listener.
right. And I would hope so. I would hope that Joaquin is listening, because we have a lot to teach that guy. But
Right. I mean, and also the queen as a computer can listen to any of you, girls, guys, X's and Y's.
yes, now that the queen is officially in the metaverse, you can like call her like you call Siri or like you call Alexa. She might not answer because you're not knighted, right? You're not in any way in the succession line, so you're not gonna get her attention. But she will do it if you. I think Sir Paul McCartney has a direct line to her through his Facebook app.
Wow. So think of the implications. Like, I mean, I know this took up a lot of time. It was very important because
It's
it's
very
also
important.
a security thing. But I think we can put a pin in that. That's just something to give you all a heads up, because I think it's something that we all have to be aware of. Obviously, once this is proven true, not if, but once this is proven true, there's going to be a lot more to dig into it, especially as
Absolutely.
more information starts to leak out.
And we have to keep our eyes on international royalty. I think that's something, it's a blind spot for Americans, that we forget that because America does not have a king or queen, that the rest of the world doesn't have one either. And that's just not the case, that there are kings and queens. And there is a lot of paranormal, emotional energy being put into the crown, into all of that. And so that energy, as physicians know, it doesn't go anywhere. It stays where it is, and it gets distributed over time other places. So this is the queen's gambit, right? Lose your body, enter the internet, and you can then govern and reign an entirely new universe.
Forever,
It's
potentially.
it's uncharted territory. I mean, this is the first time a queen has ever done this, and I don't know if this is the last. I don't like Rob said, we will confirm this with data and science, but I mean, I'd say take this to the bank. Watch your private data. If you have any anti-queen memes, circulating through Facebook, might be a good time to censor yourself a little bit, because you don't know, if the royal guard is going to be knocking on your door virtually now.
I mean, or at the very least, clean your cookies,
Your biscuits, I think, is what they call them, right?
Right. Right. So when you're going to that cache, it's not going to work if you do clean your cookies. You have to find your settings. You have to go into those deep settings and clear your biscuits.
Oh my God.
That's how you
Absolutely.
stay one step ahead of the Royal Guard in MI6.
Yes. And you don't want to get involved with MI6 because Rob literally, I mean, he's one motel room to the next each night. We're going on the run. We've had to do it a few times just because of the nature of our podcast. It's not easy. It's kind of hard, but it's necessary. I'm glad you're doing it. And I think it's time we move from the royalty of the Brits and we talk about some American royalty. Because although we don't have a king and queen, we have stars, we have celebrities, and they are our royalty. They act as the placeholders for the kings and queens and dukes and duchesses and
the rooks, the bishops,
exactly the horses. And we actually have somebody who has been silently collecting rings in an attempt to be Hollywood's most A-list celebrity, right? I mean, this is a long game. We're talking about a Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez, I think, has been a part of the Hollywood elite, has been Hollywood royalty for 30 plus years, right? About 30 years. And through that time, she has developed an image, and that image has carried her from being a backup dancer to her breakout role as Selena to then Mark Anthony she marries. She's in a few movies with him. She's with Ben Affleck. She's with Alex Rodriguez. And the story starts to form and the reality sets in that this is a woman with ambition. This is a woman that has a very specific goal. And this goal has led her to, go from relationship and then they end it. She finds another celebrity, and it's like these celebrities that she's pairing up with, like we've talked about power couples before. She is making like chess style moves when it comes to the people she chooses to be with. And I don't want to say it's not matters of the heart. She could be in love with them. I don't know. But what we do see is that there is a pattern where J-Lo will get engaged, maybe get married, and then break up, and then maybe get engaged and get married. And this has happened 5 times. So Jennifer Lopez has kept herself in the public conversation. I think the one thing that a lot of celebrities do, they get married and then they become, I don't want to say obscure, but it's just, celebrity gossip columns, they want to talk about something. And Jennifer Lopez has made herself the subject of, I would say, encyclopedias worth of information, articles written about her. Will she, won't she? Right. And that is the same as people saying God save the Queen. Right. That's the connection we're making with the Hollywood royalty, is all of that attention is energy, and that energy she is using. So I think she's coming out with a movie in a couple weeks called Marry Me, right? This movie stars Owen Wilson. I know Owen Wilson is a indie darling, but he has teamed up with her in this movie. And it is literally one of the craziest movies I think I've ever heard. Basically, they just get married on the spot. They don't even know each other, right? So that's a ritual that they're performing to strangers. And this entire movie is about, what happens after the ritual is done. So let's talk a little bit about this movie, a little bit about J-Lo. Maybe before we get into Marry Me, we can talk about how she even got started. Rob,
Yeah,
I know
there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So much to unpack here. And it was hard to even know how to keep this all together. So this may be a long story. It is a long story, and we're going to get through as much as we can, but there's no guarantee that we're going to touch on everything in this one episode. Okay.
There's so much
to go into. And, Gio, I don't know about you, but this is our 5th year going into our 6th year.
Yes.
Just like the energy and talking about JLo has made her more powerful. I think for us, we continue to get more powerful, and that means we're taking on more powerful forces as well. So,
Yes.
for all of you listeners, expect deeper dives, bigger things to come. All right. So today we're gonna, and as we're getting accredited, it could end up being like a semester style sort of class. Themes are going to pop up again and again, so you really are going to have to listen every week.
You gotta start taking notes, guys.
And so JLo, right? She kind of starts to come to the scene in the 90s. She's doing some dancing, in Living Color, and some movies here and there. The one that feels especially cursed is this film Jack.
Yes.
And Gio, you've actually seen Jack. I have not, but the more you hear about it, the more cursed it really does sound.
Jack is a horror movie directed by and written by Francis Ford Coppola. I think it was his last movie he ever made. So this is the movie that killed him. And Jack stars Robin Williams, Bill Cosby, Fran Drescher, Jennifer Lopez. Okay. And it is about a boy who, like body horror style, just can't stop growing. And he grows at a speed exponentially. And so by the time he is in elementary school, he is a grown, full adult bodied man with a brain of a 5-year-old. And so he is basically like a walking golem, right? He doesn't know his own strength, doesn't know his own body potential. And Jennifer Lopez plays his teacher. So she's supposed to be somebody who is like an understanding caretaker, but he is like attracted to her because he's an adult and he has like, adult physiology. And she's like young, I think when she was starring in the movie, she's like 20 something years old. So she's younger than he is physically in the movie. And he's playing a 5-year-old. So when you say cursed, I mean, the acting that they had to do to get into these roles, the method acting that Robin Williams had to do to start, to act like a 5-year-old. I mean, they were channeling some spirits for sure. And I mean, this is a movie that killed Francis Ford Coppola. So, I mean, this is the guy that made, gangster movies and all kinds of epics, and a movie about a body horror kind of story that killed him. So something was going on the set.
And it's, I think very similar. We always talk about Johnny, and his first film being, it's
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow. I mean, I think Johnny just wiped my mind there for a second with his tricks. You see someone out the gate, really before they're even known, perform the serious sort of magic, the serious sort of like energy transfer, to take down the Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola, herself. Like not even Marlon Brando could break Francis Ford Coppola, and he tried his hardest.
Yeah, and J-Lo did. She was able to.
Waltz is right in and sucks his soul out.
Right.
Essentially.
Stopped him in his tracks. And literally, I mean, that was the last film he did. He died. So J-Lo has a very interesting start. Like you mentioned, she was a backup dancer for In Living Color. There are stories about how she was very Machiavellian in her tactics on, how to get at the front of the stage in the backup dancing. And, she definitely was a self-serving person, which you have to be. Obviously, it's, it's dog eat dog world, but, she's straight up just eating dogs just for practice, I think was the issue, was that she was bringing dogs to the studio and straight up just eating them in front of, as an intimidation tactic. So Jennifer Lopez makes her big break, right? Actual, like, she becomes an international celebrity after she plays Selena in the Selena biopic. Now, I watched this movie when I was a child, and I'll tell you something. I didn't know the Selena story, right? I had just watched the movie. I was introduced to the movie. And so when she dies, and this is a spoiler for the movie, and so enjoy this. When she dies, I had no idea. So the emotional, like, hanging that you have, right? The feeling that you have when Selena dies in the movie is given to J-Lo. And I think this was the first time that J-Lo got this type of, like, I would say, like paranormal attention, that spotlight shined on her, and it did something. And I think, Rob, you did some research as to her method acting to get into the role and found some disturbing facts.
Right. I mean, this wasn't just, kind of like a standard, oh, I listened to her music and I watched, videos of her so I can get her mannerisms. And she took it a step further. I mean, she did speak to the family. She got close with the family. Okay, that's one thing. Here's a direct quote from Jennifer Lopez. She said, "I soaked up everything. I slept in her bed at home."
What?
She slept in the same bed as Selena. I've never heard of anyone doing that ever before. So she basically, like, that's where she goes to sleep.
Yeah.
So when the Sandman comes,
Adam Sandler.
he's coming to, when Adam Sandler comes to whisk, J-Lo away, to Dreamland, he's doing it from Selena's bed. That's the same bed that Selena would be taken to the dream realm.
Yeah. And
right?
So Adam Sandler, I'm sure, is very confused, right? He takes her to where Selena was dreaming. And I believe there is actually a Selena song called Dreaming of You. So, I mean, all of that, I mean, when you really think about privacy, and this is the one thing that I do fear for the metaverse, is that one day they will be able to take your dreams, right? And I believe that there is a certain paranormal method, a ritual that allows somebody to access the dreams of a ghost. And part of that is sleeping in the bed of the deceased. So we have early on stories of J-Lo, admittedly, she says it on the record herself, she slept in the bed and she soaked up everything. What does that mean? All the drool on the pillow, all the dead skin. Literally, she is taking the essence of Selena and soaking it into her own body, like Kirby.
And as a reminder too, this movie was produced and released. Think about this. Like, release date is after everything's already done. This was all accomplished less than a year after the death of Selena.
The bed's not even cold. It's like, I don't even know if they had time to switch out the sheets. That is so morbid. It's insane.
Right. And they're just introducing her. It's like, hey, we're so sorry. You just lost your daughter. Here's J-Lo.
Who looks just like her.
Daughter.
Yeah, she looks exactly like her. And she's gonna sleep over in your daughter's bed. What the hell were they thinking? Okay. And that just goes to show how early on J-Lo is a very ambitious actor. She's taking, very big steps. And like we were saying, like, she had a few credits, but this is not an A-lister that's method acting. This is a Z-lister that is getting in contact with the family and sleeping over their house. George Clooney doesn't do that. Okay. I mean, he went to medical school to be a doctor, for his TV debut. But after that, he swore off of it, right? But Jennifer Lopez is allowed and is able to method act her way, conjure and somehow channel Selena, and then takes her, her entire look basically, and then becomes a celebrity a year after she's dead. And that starts her on her giant rise to the top. And she starts to even sing and perform as an entertainer, not only an actor. And
Sorry, Gio, I mean, this
go
is
ahead.
just, when you were telling me this before, I just wanted to tell the audience, this leads us to Exhibit B. Let's put some quotation marks around that word singer, as you found
Yes.
some very, very interesting information around her quote unquote singing career.
Okay. So there's one thing that I think everybody here should be doing whenever you do any kind of research, and it's something that is overlooked by the likes of Neil deGrasse and the likes of, anybody really, Carl Sagan, or anybody before who's been a scientific investigator and a talking head. You got to Google the person or the subject you're looking for, and then you got to tag it ghosts or ghost. And you will find that there is so much paranormal evidence that is just overlooked because it's just not researched. It's not on the first page. You got to find it, but it's there. And in fact, it's available for anybody to see. Jennifer Lopez accused of having ghost singers.
Wow.
So when you were saying ghost, singing in quotation marks, you're right, because it's not her singing. She has an entire rogues gallery of performers, people that sound like her, that perform and demo her songs. And then she goes in and does a couple of ad libs and then keeps the entire backing track with the previous vocalists doing the background vocals for her. And this is not a one-time deal, okay? So Exhibit A, there is a chorus on Jenny from the Block, right? Used to have a little, now I got a lot, right? A singer named Natasha Ramos went on the record saying that she had made a demo version and sent it to Jennifer Lopez. And Jennifer Lopez, all she did was add on a couple of laughs and some ad-lib, tracks, basically just did one vocal track over it as a talking thing. And the entire chorus is Ramos's vocal. Okay. And then also, J-Lo does not sing some of the vocals on a song called Play and Ain't It Funny and I'm Real. So the entire chorus of Play is actually sung by a singer named Christina Milian. And she actually wrote the entire song and is credited only with the background vocal. So J-Lo wrote the song in quotation marks, but actually Christina Milian did. And then on the I'm Real thing, so Ashanti goes on the record and says, I demoed the record for her, which is done a lot in the music industry, and they left my background vocals on there. So all the choruses on I'm Real, not Jennifer Lopez. And if you look at the music video, who's lip syncing? It's not Ashanti. It's J-Lo.
I mean, think about this trajectory too. We're talking about, J-Lo already took the spirit and soul of one of the most successful and culturally touchstone kind of artists in Selena, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't even enough for J-Lo. All right. We're talking about, we have the star closer to us called the sun. She's more like Alpha Centauri, right?
Yes.
She's it's not enough to keep this fire burning. So she has to go and she's choosing all these voices from all these different singers. And making them her own, stealing their essence.
And this is the thing about Jennifer Lopez, is that it is a microcosm of what's happening in the large picture. Because with her relationships, she will go from relationship to relationship, engagement to engagement. And the thing about it is, and, no shame to anybody that's been married or whatever multiple times. Like, find love any way you can. But I think the problem that a lot of people have with Jennifer Lopez is that everything seems so self-serving. It's always a step up. She's always, like, it seems like a strategic move more than it feels like a move out of love. And that's the issue that a lot of people have, is that it's like the ambition is so big that she's losing some humanity. And in fact, the research that we've done into her, I think, has started to show that maybe there was no humanity that, that we should have expected, because she's been this way the entire time. Like, I think Jennifer Lopez, for one thing, has just been a consistent, character. We just, were fooled by the way that she presented herself, right? And that to spell the way that she did that. And I would say it's one of the best spells we've ever seen, because it's still working today.
Very much so. I mean, there's a deeper philosophical questions going on too, of like how people are gaining power and what's acceptable. It's almost as if the more cruel a person is deep down, the more they like to step on people, the more we then take that and say, yes, step on me. We love to see it. We want to see you rise as high and step us down as low as possible. There's obviously a lot of, psychology, and I know that, through the bending of space and time, people like Carl Jung are also quoting us. So I think he's a great example of someone who's built off of our work.
Absolutely.
So if you're interested in that, like, kind of, research, you're all getting accredited now, so you can do research as well. We'll tell you some breadcrumbs. There's only so much that we can fit into a single podcast.
Exactly.
But to say that, J-Lo is always what she has said that she is. And I think it's very interesting that now she's releasing this movie, finally getting to today, right? Mary movie, which is really just, she has so much power now. She gets to show her entire hand. I mean, and say, look, this is what I'm doing. This movie is about me, like, doing something, like finding love, marrying someone as a PR stunt.
It's like, I think this is the year that we see J-Lo for what she really is, right? She's taken off the shroud and showing us, yeah, like, I've been doing this whole marry me plot for 20 years. And they finally made a documentary about it. And really, that's what this is. And we have Owen Wilson as a stand-in for like a Ben Affleck, right? I mean, they look so much alike. And so we have this now modern day fairy tale about a superstar who marries a commoner. They have a ritual marriage on the spot, and then they have to figure out if they're meant to be together. And of course, it's a rom-com, so there's going to be some jokes, and there's going to be some, love and romance. All of that is going to build good energy for J-Lo. So then when she eventually does either get married or break up with Ben Affleck and get engaged with somebody else or whatever, it's celebrated again, right? She can ride this cycle once more, because now this documentary can now, churn out a part 2. Marry Me Part 2 comes out in a couple of years.
Marry Me Again.
Right. A prequel. Did we get married? Right? I mean, so this is something where it's smart, because before, J-Lo was acting in like a behind the scenes capacity and trying to hide the, that she can't sing, right? She can't sing. I mean, let's just say it. She can't sing. But now we're starting to see that she is taking her story and she's turning it into entertainment, right? And that could go a lot of ways.
Which is very interesting because, like we were talking before about how she rose to fame with stealing other people's energy.
Mm,
She's kind of come full circle where she's so much of a celebrity is that now she's using her own story for the first time. So she's trying to take her own energy to build off of it. And that's a very interesting technique. And it could, like Gio just prefaced, it could go a lot of different ways.
And here's the real kicker. This movie is coming out a couple days before, or maybe a couple days after Valentine's Day. So this is not a good time for movies. Right now, movies that are coming out are notorious for just being the worst movies that nobody wanted to watch, nobody wanted to put money into. And in fact, I think this movie has already been pushed back an entire year. This movie was supposed to come out last February. So the writing might be on the wall that this is not a good movie. And that could go against J-Lo, right? Or this could be exactly what she wanted. So like Rob said, this is not a finished story. This is a longer story. We have an entire second half that we want to get into that goes beyond J-Lo and into the different aspects of some of her relationships and some of the people that she's with now. So TBD, TBC, to be continued. This is going to be an ongoing investigation into J-Lo, into the 5 rings, into the Olympics. Okay.
Think about that timing, everyone.
The ghost of Marilyn Monroe. Hello. I mean, so this is some juicy stuff.
Right. Obviously, Disney is also lurking in the shadows here, as they always do.
Mm-hmm.
It really combines a lot of different energies. Like we were saying, this is Alpha Centauri. This is a star that we can see from light years and galaxies away with the naked eye. So keep that in mind. And
it's astrotheology. This is what Neil deGrasse has been trying to promote. And he's been using us as the, bouncing off position, but we're taking the ball, Neil. We're gonna take the ball for a little while. We're gonna run with it, and we're gonna see what we can find. And this is what we're uncovering. This is groundbreaking stuff. And honestly, if I were you, I would have my thumb next to the download button for the next episode. When that comes out, listen to it as soon as you can, rewind it, and listen to it in half speed. Okay. You don't want to miss anything. This is going to be huge. So, Rob, I think we've done a pretty good job for today. We've given them a lot to think about. Everybody out there, do your own research, like Rob said, so that next week when we start dropping some Jungian terms, you're able to follow along. Okay. And you won't have to listen in half speed. So that's an incentive for you. But I would say, thank you, Rob, for all the hard work that you did this week. Having the target on your back and then having to research is not easy, right? I mean, it's tough working at a Starbucks and you think they're going to poison your coffee. So everybody thank Rob for all the hard work that he's doing, and everybody stay in the scene.
Keep your eyes on the screen, and obviously we need research as well. I just want to keep driving that home. Send your permission slips from your professors for your classes that we're taking. We'll sign them so you can get your course credit. We want to make sure that's going through. We do everything above board here, obviously, and we like to help out the community as well. So just fire that out to us, ghostinthescene@gmail.com. We can do it digitally. We have ghost-proof servers, so don't worry about that. Shout out to the IRA, who's been helping me move around and deal with the whole royal situation of it all. And I think it just shows, like, as a community, we're going to be bigger and badder than ever. And it is about embracing the paranormal, not being afraid of it. And we're all going to come out better because of that.
Absolutely. Right. So until next time, guys, God save the queen. Keep your eyes on the stream.